Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be using the shaker modifier to create ourselves a neon sign. So let's get started. So the first step is to create ourselves a new fusion clip. So we'll do that first and get it dragged onto our timeline. You can give it a name if you like, but it's really up to you. Now that we've got it on our timeline, all we need to do is right click and select Open on Fusion page and we'll be ready to go. So now that we're on the Fusion page, the first thing we'll need is a text node. So let's drag that on and connect it up. Let's add a text value in. I'm going to use the word Davinci. You can use whatever you want. And then we need to set a font. Now, technically you can use any fonts, but for this effect, I find the Beyond the best. Let's make it a little bit bigger so we can see it. So that looks about right. Yeah, love that. Now I need to go to settings, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it so that I only have the outline. Once I've done that, I'm going to adjust the thickness of the line just slightly. But again, it's all down to preference, but that looks about right to me. And finally, just so I can see what I'm doing a little bit better, I'm just going to switch off the checkerboard background because it's going to make it a little bit easier when I start to pick colors and work with blurs and glows and all this all good stuff. Okay, so I think we are ready. We've got the basic font set up, the outlines, it's all looking good. So now we can move on to start applying our neon effects. Okay, so let's start by making sure our text node is selected. Once we've done that, we need to go to the shading tab and make sure that we pick element number 2. So preset element number 2 is the red outline. Now once you've selected, don't forget to tick enabled, otherwise nothing's going to work. Now by default, the setting is a red outline, but I'm going to change the color of my neon just to show you how you can do it. So I'm going to pick a sort of bluey, purpley color. So now that I've got a color I like, what I'm going to do is change the softness settings to about 15 and the glow to about halfway up. This is just a good starting point, and you can play around with this and come back and adjust it. But these are good settings to dial in to get yourself started. So we've now got our basic neon effect. Next bit is to add the flicker. It gives a bit of realism. So it's very simple. We're not going to use any keyframes at all, any animations. We're just going to let the text plus node do all the work for us. So it's very simple. First, we need to right click on the opacity. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the modifier called shake. So we just select that. Now you'll notice as soon as we do that, it's automatically set the opacity number for us. So now if we go to the modifier and click the play button, you'll see that an effect has been applied to it. So what we need to do now is just basically dial in some settings, match the effect that we're after. And again, it's all down to personal preference. So let's have a little play with it. I like to keep the play going so I can see exactly what I'm getting as I make my adjustments. Okay, so I think that looks about right. That looks like a good flicker effect for me, so I'm quite happy with that. Now before we move on, let's spend a few moments and actually have a little look at what this shake modifier is actually doing. If we press the play button and go back to the opacity setting, you can see it's jumping around backwards and forwards. And the way you have to imagine the shake modifier, it's almost like the opacity slider was loose and you were shaking it backwards and forwards randomly. And that's the sort of effect you're getting. It's moving backwards and forwards. And the settings that we set gave a sort of maximum and minimum threshold of how the shake works. So it's a really interesting modifier. Try it out on other settings and you can get some quite interesting effects. But that's the shake modifier. Okay, so you could stop at this point. It looks good. The neon's working. We've got a little flicker to it. But I'm going to add one more node to my effect. I'm going to add some soft glow. So I'm just going to click on my text node, press my shift and space bar, and locate the soft glow node and add it in. And I'm just going to make a little adjustment to get it the way I like. And this is optional, you don't have to do it, but I quite like adding the soft glow. So now that I've got my neon sign, what I think would really make it stand out is to have a neon bar on the top and the bottom at a different colour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just demonstrate how to do that. We're not learning anything new, it's all the same stuff that we've got, and we're actually going to use copy paste to make this nice and fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed it up slightly, and you can see me do it. Again, there's nothing new to learn, it's just a different way of doing things. So sit back and I'll just add the top and bottom to my sign. And we are done. We have one neon sign and we've created it using the shaker modifier. I really hope you found this useful. Please leave comments and hit the notify. And please go try and use this yourself and let me know how you get on. If you found it useful, please subscribe. I really appreciate it. And I hope to see you very soon.